Before you start to fill out the FAFSA, there is some information and documents you'll need to gather in order to complete the application. In this video, we'll go over all the info you may need in order to fill out the FAFSA, and we'll provide some tips on how and where to find this information. First, we suggest that you and one of your parents, if they don't already have one, create FSA IDs before starting the FAFSA. The FSA ID is a unique username and password that serves as your legal signature when you sign and submit your FAFSA. In order to create your FSA ID, you will need a social security number. If you do not have a social security number, you will be unable to create one. For more information, we recommend watching the Federal Student Aid video linked in the description. Once you have created your FSA ID, if you're required to provide parental information on your FAFSA, you will need to gather some basic pieces of information about them. Keep in mind that a parent on the FAFSA can be a biological, adoptive, or step-parent. The information you'll need includes your parents' full names, their social security numbers if they have one, their dates of birth, the date your parents were either married, separated, divorced, or widowed, and their email address. In addition to the basic information about your parents, you will also need some information about their income. If your parents file taxes, you will need to find their federal tax return from 2 years ago. This is because the FAFSA requires tax information from what is called prior year, or the year before last year. For example, if you're filling out the 2022-2023 FAFSA application, you will need to locate your parents' 2020 taxes. When you gather these documents, make sure you have your parents' Form 1040 as well as any schedules they may have filed. If you or your parents are unsure about what exactly they have filed, just gather all of the documents in their tax packet to have on hand while you fill out the FAFSA. If your parents were employed by others or self-employed that year, you will need to make sure to gather documentation of their earnings. For those employed by others, you can find this on a W-2. This information is required whether or not your parents filed taxes for that year. Once you have gathered the necessary documents, you will also need some information about your parents' current finances. This includes how much money they have in their bank accounts, the amount of child support they may have paid or received, the value of their current investments, like stocks, bonds, and rental property, and any other sort of untaxed income or benefits they may receive. In addition, the FAFSA asks if your family receives any means-tested federal benefits, like Medicaid or SNAP, but you do not need to know the amount received. Now that we've talked about what kind of parental information is needed to fill out the FAFSA, let's review what information you need about yourself, the student. You will need all the same financial information as your parents, since the FAFSA will ask about your finances too. This includes your tax return and W-2 if you worked and filed taxes in the corresponding year, as well as the current amount in your bank accounts and the value of any investments you may hold. It is also helpful to have an idea of the schools you intend on applying to and what your housing situation would be if you were to attend that college. For instance, would you live on campus in the dorms? Or would you plan on living off campus, or even at home with your family? It can be helpful to think about this before beginning your FAFSA. Once you have gotten this information together, you're ready to begin your FAFSA. While this is a lot of information and documents to gather, being prepared ahead of time will make filling out the FAFSA much easier and quicker for you and your family. For a full list of all the documents and information you will need, review the resources in the description box.